You're listening to This Week in E-Commerce, the Ecom Nation podcast. Dive into the top online retail headlines with your hosts, Paul Waddy and Mal Chia. Let's load up the cart. This Week in E-Commerce, episode 70 for our very first episode of 2025. Paul, welcome back.
Thanks, Mal. Welcome back. Happy 2025 to you. We're all going to be 1 year older this year.
We are. Yeah. Wow, that's some seriously breaking news to start the year on.
So we'll end the podcast there.
Yeah, we're done. We're going to be 1 year older this year. That's it, everybody. That's our prediction. But we are back with our predictions episode for this year. Now, we've done this for the last couple of years now. And so this is the first time we've done it on the podcast. We've done it before as a webinar, but we're going to do it on the podcast first and potentially do a webinar at some later stage where we can dig into it. But we just thought, let's kick the year off with our 2025 predictions. But before we do that, we're going to dive into what we got right and what we got wrong in 2024. So the first prediction, which we had for 2024, was that live shopping will take off. Now, I'm giving ourselves an incomplete for that one, because while a couple of brands did dip their toes into it, namely Myer and Showpo, and then Oz Hair actually did a large live shopping event in December, it didn't really get into the mainstream.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll come back to this point later for 2025, but you're right, Oz Hair and Beauty did something in December, which is technically 2024, but we're going to come back to this for 2025. But yeah, I'm happy to say it didn't really take off just yet.
Yep. Number two, we had AI-driven everything. AI was going to be touching every part of the e-commerce mix, from attribution to merchandising, customer support, demand planning. Look, I'm giving us a correct for this one. AI was certainly everywhere, with a lot of people releasing AI products or integrating AI into their existing products.
Definitely. Even just the rise of just the amount of brands that I heard talk about using things like Blend AI and all these sorts of things for their marketing, people willing to try certain things. I think there's no question that AI-driven everything nailed that one, Mal, for sure.
Yep. All right, margins over growth. Number three, I would say you started a whole new business from this one.
Yeah. Ecom 100 is all about that, and that's grown really quickly. So I think we got this one right as well. And I think there's no surprise here, as we knew it was going to be a pretty tough year. And when the going gets tough, people just start to try and focus on margins or efficiency. And I'd still say that some don't and have their head in the sand. But those that probably didn't, Mal, saw a lot of closures this year. So and to your point about B there, which was surviving outside of sale periods, especially as their overheads have increased. Yeah, I mean, I think we got this right. We saw a lot of closures when people got it wrong. You and I probably felt, and in our agency, Ecom Nation, probably felt a lot of people starting to track MER daily as opposed to ROAS daily, or maybe both. Yeah, I'm happy. What do you think? Green tick on this?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the conversation changing from let's spend as much as we can on advertising to being like, well, hang on, like let's actually try to spend what we can actually afford on advertising, rather than just like this hell bent, just like scale. So yeah, I'm very comfortable with the fact we got this one correct. Now, another incomplete from us is that I predicted that partnership marketing would become a key part of the marketing mix. And I didn't really see too much grow in that area. More people, more interest, I guess, but it's still a lot of brands still reluctant to adopt it as part of what they're doing. Still very much stuck in the Facebook and Google train, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. We highlighted some good ones throughout the year, and I think hats off to some of the ones we pointed out. I think Australia has lagged a bit. Some of the big brands have done this really, really well. I guess locally, there was one that was about to spring. Maison de Sabre have done this quite well, but yeah, not. Maybe we should run a workshop on actually how to do this, Mal, because I think that is actually a bit of a barrier here, is people don't know how to structure the deal, how to structure the commercials, and so on. But yeah, I'm happy to say I like that you're saying incomplete and not missed.
Yeah, one thing which I did notice though is that probably the biggest spender in partnership marketing in Australia is Temu.
That's so true. Yeah, that's so true.
Like, they are the biggest spender. You should see some of the offers they have in market. It's like 50% commission. It's like, what? You're giving someone 50% commission on a first sale?
You know what's interesting on slightly off topic, but Temu, I told you I placed an order on there and downloaded the app, and it's so annoying. But obviously it's working. We can come back to that later. But when they send emails or give you push notifications that say, "Oh, we're so sorry we stuffed up." It's like, what did you stuff up, you bastards? You've stuffed up they've stuffed up nothing. They just keep saying, oh, we've stuffed up, which makes me think, what is it? And there's nothing.
Just that whole fear.
Yeah.
All right. Creator-led brands are going to grow, and I think we certainly saw this. Rose Skin, Hailey Bieber's brand, Skims, Kim Kardashian, going to like a multi-billion-dollar valuation now. Alive Body, Zoe Foster Blake, Go To Skincare. Lots of creator brands now, which are continuing to grow, and even more coming on the coming online as well.
Yeah, and even the lower, let's flip that around also and say that I noticed a lot of online retailers wanting to understand how to be a creator-led brand. In other words, turning the founders into creators. A lot of people want to learn how to do that. And a lot of people taking note of brands that do it quite well. A lot of people talking about, again, locally, Fate the Label, how do they do it and so on. So, I think we got this one right.
Yep. Okay. Expansion of omnichannel. A lot more investment into omnichannel. Now, I'm particularly highlighting the big ones here, but David Jones, Bunnings, Woolies all made massive investments into omnichannel this year. Bunnings, you can you can navigate the store from your app, buy things online, and then click and collect. David Jones investing millions of dollars into their app, into the marketplace as well. Yeah, look, I think that for me, I think I could certainly see that blending between the online and offline has been growing a lot in the past year.
Yeah, definitely. No, big shout. Yeah, Woolies, I agree. Bunnings, I use all the time. You've got to have a look at David Jones. But yeah, no question. We got that one.
Yep. Tech stack consolidation. So we predicted that a lot of the smaller vendors out there wouldn't survive or would get rolled into other ones. And I think as more people are being more conscious about their subscriptions expenses, they're starting to think about how do we actually have fewer vendors we work with, fewer apps we're subscribing to, which means that a lot of these incumbents like Klaviyo, Yotpo, Braze are now starting to bolt on more and more features. Klaviyo in the last year have added, reviews, SMS, and even more into their stack, as has Yotpo and Braze. So I think we're going to see more and more of that with the big boys, really focusing on building out what their offering is.
Yeah, I think just before this, spoke to Jevon LaRue, who's built a business on partially solving this problem, consolidating the tech stack. So shout out to Kiyu. But we called this one out. And you're also seeing it, Mal, on the profit and loss statement where people are starting to highlight the sheer dollar value that they're spending on subscriptions each month and starting to hack away at that, because it was getting pretty out of hand, seeing some retailers doing sub 10 million a year with, subscriptions, including Shopify and so on, of 20,000 a month, which is a bit crazy.
Hey, look, if your revenue used to be 20 million and now it's 10 million, you've got to cut something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Start there.
Yeah. All right. Mergers and acquisitions. We predicted there'd be a bunch of mergers and acquisitions this year, and we were right. Maya acquired Premier Brands Group, which includes Sass & Bide and a few others. JB Hi-Fi acquired ENS, and Adore Beauty acquired Iku. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, I should say, in terms of the number of acquisitions last year. But those are just some of the more prominent ones which we saw and we talked about on this podcast.
Yeah, DigiDirect acquired Booktopia. Yep. There was some monsters actually. Some monsters.
Yep. So, about Booktopia. I've just started seeing their ads again popping up.
Have you?
Yeah. Yep. And then we'll obviously see what happens with Mosaic over the next few months.
Correct.
Yep. That we could be hearing news about that very soon. We also predicted the rise of micro niches, that more and more brands would be focusing on niches rather than a larger mass market. And I think we definitely saw that. We had brands like some of your brands you work with, like RTLA, focusing on very, very niche, very, very niche consumers, as with Lift the Label and a bunch of other brands who we work with as well, really focusing on a smaller niche segment and doing quite well by doing so.
Agreed. A couple of others that spring to mind is Zali Organics, who's, eyelash serum, don't do that justice, but really focusing on a particular problem with wanting to lengthen eyelashes. We've also seen the rise of quite a lot of single product businesses that I've just seen on Instagram who are, the salt, bugger salt, salter bug, or bugger salt.
Bugger salt. Yeah.
A lot of those popping up as well. I saw this one last week, which I thought was super cool, where it's the device that you attach to your bin and you push it down and it squashes the rock.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know what? If that ain't a micro niche, I mean, it's probably a pretty big audience, but that's like every dad getting out there, or mum getting out there and like squashing rubbish down the night before midnight. So yeah, I saw a lot of those pop up with a lot of them using really clever material on Instagram.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with that one. I almost bought one of those. Sent it to the wife. She gave me the thumbs down on that, but I thought this would be so cool,
I
especially
sent
after
it to
Christmas. Yeah,
Yeah, I sent it to my neighbor because we're always borrowing bin
yeah.
space.
Yeah, my neighbor was away and I borrowed their bin, thinking that they're not going to be back for another week. And then I put everything in their bin and then they came back that day. I'm like, oh my God. It's like I
Love
totally
that.
sprung using their bin.
I love it.
They were totally cool about that. So, I'll give them a bottle of wine. It'll be fine.
I love that.
And then finally, Temu was our last prediction, which is Temu will stomp on Amazon sellers. And I don't think we could have been any more right with this one.
Yeah, a couple of billion a year into the Aussie economy, fourth largest online retailer in the country. Yeah, we were bullish on that one, and
Yeah.
they didn't let us down.
Yep, certainly didn't. All right, we are now going to go into the back half now. We're going to be talking about our 2025. But before that, the scorecard for last year was we got 8 correct and 2 incompletes. So we'll give ourselves a half point for that. So we're 9 out of 10 for the year, which is an improvement on 2023. All right, but 2025 we're going into, and we have our hot off the press, our predictions. Number one is that consumer confidence we're predicting will remain low as inflation remains stubbornly high. And I have to say that while we're praying and hoping for end in sight to high inflation rates, the reality is that I think with some of the policies which are potentially coming down the line, particularly around increased tariffs, we're probably going to see an increase in cost of imported goods, which means that that's going to obviously have an inflationary impact on the economy. What do you think?
I think you've nailed it. That's the whole issue, really. I mean, so we'll talk about the banks here are now starting to be more cautious around interest rate drops on the back of maybe inflation sticking around a little longer than hoped. So most of the banks are now predicting that probably another year of mostly high interest rates. So we probably not great news, at least until midway through the year. Yeah, Trump's extremely bullish on the China taxes for a lot of categories, and he's going really hard. In some categories, you could see prices lift by 50%. Depending on whether brands pass the tariff on or whatever. But yeah, this is what happens is, inflation is designed to get suppliers to drop their prices, but when the tariffs go up, you're forced to probably increase your prices, or definitely. So that's counterintuitive to inflation, or helps inflation. Go up. So we are in for a bit of a tough time, particularly in the States we're talking here. But for Aussies, if you're planning to sell into the US from here, even from there, that's going to hurt you as well. And we know that a lot of Aussies sell into the States. So this is going to be really tough now. Watch this space when those tariffs are rolled out.
Yep. And also our second prediction is that Temu will double this year. That's what I'm predicting anyway. I think Temu are just like with the fact that we're going to have high inflation, high interest rates probably through this year as well, and with the growth trajectory they're on as well. Look at how aggressive they're being in market. I'm expecting them to come in second behind Amazon by the end of the year.
Totally agree. I think we'll get that one. And I think really, really solid point that you raised earlier offline, which is that the end of these de minimis exceptions in the US. So in other words, like they're just going to cop a hiding Temu in the US, and they're trying to counter that by setting up shop in the US. But nonetheless, they will target other countries who have free trade agreements with China, i.e. Australia. So you can expect Temu to double down in Australia and therefore reach, top two, maybe in e-commerce in Australia.
Consumers are going to be getting a great deal on many, many things, an even better deal, I should say, as they push harder into here, which means it's going to be tougher for Australian retailers.
Yep.
Okay, number 3, we will finally stop talking about attribution and realize that marketing is a system and not a single channel. This is one which I've been waiting to happen for a while, but finally, along with the MER conversation, that people are starting to change their thinking around this and realizing that it's not just about what Facebook or Google is saying is happening in there, but really think about marketing in totality. And in particular, I'm seeing a lot more investment into offline marketing as well. So a lot of people, investing into billboards, out of home, and different channels like that, just to be able to diversify their marketing mix rather than just putting everything into Google and Facebook, and realizing that, it's also about building awareness.
Yep, I think this is going to be a good one. I think the attribution model is overcooked. Attribution modeling, like we all have pretty good access to various attribution models through a variety of free or paid platforms now. And how much growth has that really driven you? Understanding your full attribution. If it was easy as just, I've got my attribution sorted, now dial it up. Well, it's not, because you're not factoring in what you talk about a lot, which is brand recall and things like that, which is really initially perhaps not measurable. And we've spoken a lot about getting out of the bottom of the funnel and into awareness. And that's things like, we know, for instance, this podcast, Mal, is a great tool for us. But do we sit down and measure the ROI? No, we just know that we're better off with it, and that all ships rise with the tide when we're on it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, and particularly the re-rise, hopefully, a bit of out of home. That would be cool.
Absolutely. Okay, from a marketing team's standpoint, I'm saying that there's going to be more generalists are going to be favoured over specialists this year, and it's already starting to happen. Particularly, we've talked about with downsizing teams, that people are realising they can actually do more with. They need to do more with less, and part of that means bringing people on board with more generalist skill set and relying on things like automation and AI to support them, rather than hiring a whole team of specialists. Because I think that need for that more general cross-functional knowledge is now greater than just having someone who only understands a single tool.
Yeah, I think you're right here. And also just the point about, costs being high, labor costs being high, back to our earlier prediction that it's going to be another tough year, means that you're going to force to consolidate. We talked about consolidation of tech stack, subscriptions and so on. I think the same will happen with headcount, I think people will be forced to, because we've spoken about this as well, while it's been a pretty tough economy, particularly in retail spending, the wages continue to rise. So something's got to give. If wages go up 5% or headcount goes up 5%, that's 5% off your bottom line that you might not have. So I do think that brands, out of necessity, are going to have to go with smaller teams. And as the rise of the generalist, obviously we're talking largely here at the non-enterprise businesses, but that's a huge portion of e-commerce. But I agree. I think you're already seeing it, actually, brands hiring specialists and coordinators and things like that. So if you're a specialist, you're in for a good generalist. You're in for a good year.
All right, omnichannel, our favorite topic. Omnichannel is coming in at number 5. Will continue to grow as the lines between online and offline continue to blur.
Yeah, I think we've seen that really an extension of 2024, and I think again it's. Retail stores can complement the online sales channels. We saw that back in the PE Nation glory days. Locally, Budgie Smuggler have plans to open more stores. Oz Hair and Beauty have done tremendously well without, we've spoken about this, without cannibalizing their online sales, if anything, helping their online sales. So I would say that it's the ones who will do it well will come back to the point you made earlier about your Bunnings and your, Officeworks do it well and these sorts of things. So it's about, combining those stores, and throw into that mix a bit of wholesale mail, which still seems to be on people's agenda, or rather marketplace, which is the model that I prefer. But I think omni-channel retail will be alive and well.
Yep. Look at Maison de Sabro. Maison de Sabro doing their pop-ups in Japan last year, but also in Paris right now doing a pop-up as well. Huge growth coming from those channels, and just kind of making that brand, bring that to life in a very real sense, rather than just being an online-only brand, really helping them, and also soon to be in stores and Bloomingdale's in America as well. Okay, number 6, the rise of experience-driven consumers. This is with consumers now looking to actually want more from their purchases. They can just get a widget from anywhere. So what they're looking for is true experiences now. Look, this is something which I'm thinking is going to happen very heavily this year, particularly around more like discretionary spend, more like lifestyle brands who do need to cross that divide and really bring their brands to life, rather than just relying purely just on digital advertising and emails, but really creating a whole experience around that brand. We're seeing that a lot in the US, and I think in Australia, we're going to start to see that more as well. Not just from the big brands who are doing that. Obviously, Lululemon and some large brands like that, they're heavily investing into experience. But I think even at a smaller micro level, we're going to see a lot of brands investing in that too.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to need to do it, right? And I think I was looking around at the movies that I went to last week, and they're closing the cinema because there was just nobody there. And it's like, well, what are you offering me in the movies that I can't get at home? And I think the same will start to occur more and more online. And I think, again, domestically, brands that do this well. Muscle Republic, I think, you integrate nicely into their community. I think for the whole, it's been neglected. So the question for brands to ask themselves is how can they get out there and offer an experience rather than just flogging products consistently. But I think digital marketing now is more expensive. Again, they're going to be more expensive. Not one of our predictions. We just know it will get more and more expensive. So you're going to have to sort of think outside of the box. And this is an exciting one. Can't wait to see what brands do here.
All right, number 7, we've got the expansion of retail media. Retail media has been kicking around for a number of years now, but generally at the larger end of town with some of the bigger retailers. But now I think this year in particular, we're going to start to see that democratize quite a lot with smaller retailers in that S&B sort of space now having the opportunity to actually provide retail media on their websites through the technology becoming easier to implement. So I know this is one which has been talked about a lot, but you can see that brands like, an Adore Beauty or an Oz Hair, this is going to form a real part of their strategy, I feel, in this year. And I expect a lot of other brands to kind of follow suit with that as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. The Adore, you want to elaborate a little bit on what Adore's done, because I think that's a pretty good example.
Yeah, so Adore are working with a lot of their brands who they stock, who can now actually buy ad space on the Adore Beauty website. So you'll be able to go there, and as a brand, you can actually buy media on the Adore Beauty website to hopefully drive people towards your products, so they purchase from there instead. So obviously, a D2C brand probably less relevant for them, but for a lot of multi-brand retailers, you're going to expect to see this a lot more. And so for them to be able to work closer with the brands who they stock, to be able to sell them ad space on the website to increase the sell-through of their products.
This is super interesting. I think you think about how other brands have done this in the past is like it's probably in supermarkets where you pay for a better spot in the aisle, or you pay for a kiosk near the point of purchase, or you pay for a spot on the catalog or whatever. Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting. Obviously, probably more achievable for your larger brands, but it's. I mean, why wouldn't they do it? Why wouldn't they do it? It makes total sense. Supermarkets have been doing it for years, and catalogs, as I said. So this is going to be really interesting. Watch this space for sure. I think it's. Look, I feel anyway, whether I like it or not, two minds, but it's a good strategy. It gets you, marketing near the point of purchase is the goal here. So
yeah, look, but also does this go to a point where different D2C brands can partner with each other? You can have like a streetwear brand and a footwear brand. So, here you're checking out G'd Up clothing, but also check out these sneakers, check out these TNs from Foot Locker or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah,
all right, so we expect that one to grow this year. We're expecting that this year as well, we will reach peak AI. AI investments have continued to grow in 2024, but I'm expecting that we're actually going to start seeing a plateau in investments into AI, sheerly because there's just so many AI startups at the moment that we're going to need to be able to sort the wheat from the chaff before we can get many more out there. And I think people also are just suffering generally from fatigue with the number of different apps to try out. So we expect that this will kind of stall. There will obviously be some big ones like ChatGPT and Sora, which will grow, and other ones like that. But on the whole, we expect the AI market to kind of cool a little bit this year.
Yeah, I think it's cutting through the noise is so many startups doing the same thing over and over, or claiming to do certain things that aren't actually that beneficial. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the scramble is a little bit over, but it leads nicely into the next point, which I think is more likely to be where AI heads, which is the rise of AI agents.
Number 9, the rise of AI agents. More and more, we're going to actually see, rather than you conversing with a human, you're going to be conversing with an agent who is acting for the human. And this is already happening a lot with people researching holidays, researching flights, and using AI to do that. And the next step from there, which is already starting, is to then use the AI to then go and book your flights. And this I expect to happen more and more. And we're already starting to see in areas like home furnishings, furniture, rugs, even from Miss Amara, where they're using a live agent that's soon to become an AI agent, who's going to be able to go in there and ask those questions about how to decorate your home, how to style your home. This is the product, this is the budget, great, go and buy it. So I'm expecting that over this year, we're going to see more and more AI agents acting in the place of customers.
Yep, exactly what Jevon and his key guys were talking to me about before is actually, yes, not just handling and then passing off the query, is handling the query and then solving it, issuing a refund, issuing an exchange, sending an email, crazy stuff. So yeah, I think this is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, number 10, TikTok Shop is finally coming to Australia. And with that, we should finally see what our incomplete from 2024, which is live streaming, live shopping, really starting to take off.
Yeah, and that's assuming TikTok doesn't get banned. But they're coming. Dates I'm not sure of yet, but a lot of people asking about it. And the live shopping is, again, we've seen the rise of the streamer. Particularly, it's been a US thing, but in gaming, it's been huge. But now I think it's just so easy to stream. It's easy to stream across consolidated platforms using basically free technology. So I think that, going back to Moira and Danos Direct days, I think we're going to see, not just on TikTok Shop, but I think we're going to see people taking to live shopping. It's a no-brainer for me and super exciting. I've started live streaming every so often and absolutely love it. The engagement's great. So looking forward to more brands doing this. And, stay tuned for the TikTok Shop. Of course, at Ecommerce, we have some very good TikTok experts, so you're welcome to reach out if that's you. But this is exciting. Can't wait for this one.
All right. And that, my friends, is our 2025 predictions for the year. Reach out, let us know what you think about these, if any which you think we've missed or anything which you disagree with. Always love to have a chat with anyone who's listening. We will be presenting this more in depth on a webinar at a later date. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us for our very first episode of 2025, except the episode we did last week. And here's to a fantastic 2025. Paul, any parting thoughts?
No, I think have a look at these 10 because they're probably pretty decent and see what your business can do to get around them.
Yep, we'll put them up on the blog soon. Fantastic. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.